In America today, millions of people wake up every morning believing they're doing everything right. They work hard, they pay their bills, they try to save money, and every month they promise themselves things will finally get better. But somehow, the debt keeps growing, the stress keeps growing, and for millions of American families, the credit card in their wallet has quietly become a financial prison. What if I told you the system was never designed to help you escape? What if the very thing advertised as financial freedom was actually keeping people trapped? Because in America, credit cards are no longer just a payment method, they've become a survival tool. People use them for groceries, gas, rent, medical bills, emergency expenses. Not because they want luxury, because many families simply can't afford life anymore. And that's exactly where the trap begins. Imagine this. A father finishes a 10-hour shift. He's exhausted. He checks his bank account. There's barely enough money left. But his daughter needs medicine, the car needs gas, and the refrigerator is almost empty. So he reaches into his wallet and pulls out a credit card. Just this once. That's what millions of Americans tell themselves every single day. Just this once. But just this once slowly becomes every month, and before they realize it, they're drowning. Most people think the biggest danger is spending too much money, but the real danger is something far more invisible: interest. Because credit card companies don't actually make most of their money from people paying immediately. They make money from people staying in debt. That's the business model. The longer you owe money, the more profitable you become. And almost nobody explains this when people first get a credit card. Banks market credit cards as freedom. Earn rewards, build your credit, cashback, travel points. It sounds exciting, but behind the shiny marketing is one of the most profitable industries in America. Think about this. If someone buys a $2,000 television with cash, the bank earns almost nothing. But if someone buys it with a credit card and spends years paying interest, that same $2,000 purchase can turn into $4,000 or more. One purchase, double the profit. Now, imagine millions of Americans doing this every day. That's why the system is massive. And the scariest part? Many families don't even realize how deep they are until it's too late. At first, the minimum payment looks small. Maybe $35, maybe $50. It feels manageable. But that's where the trap becomes dangerous. Because minimum payments are designed to keep you in debt longer, not help you escape faster. Let's say someone owes $5,000 on a credit card. If they only make minimum payments, it could take years to pay off. Years! And during that time, interest keeps growing every single month. It's like trying to escape quicksand while someone keeps pulling you back down. And in modern America, this problem is everywhere. Young adults are struggling, parents are struggling, even people with decent jobs are struggling, because wages haven't kept up with the cost of living. Everything became more expensive. Housing, food, healthcare, insurance, education. But salaries? Not enough. So millions turned to debt to survive. And credit cards became the bridge between reality and financial collapse. You see, years ago, credit cards were mostly used for convenience. Today, for many Americans, they're being used for survival. That changes everything. A family might look normal on the outside. Nice clothes, a car, an apartment. But behind closed doors, they're terrified. Terrified of opening bills, terrified of emergencies, terrified of one unexpected expense destroying everything. And this constant stress changes people. It affects relationships, sleep, mental health, confidence. Debt doesn't just attack bank accounts, it attacks peace. And the worst part is, many people blame themselves. They think, maybe I'm just bad with money. But the truth is more complicated, because the modern financial system was built around borrowing. Think about it. Want a house? Mortgage. Want a car? Loan. Want college? Student debt. Want to survive an emergency? Credit card. Debt became normal, even expected. And once society accepts debt as normal, banks become more powerful than ever, because debt creates dependence. The more people borrow, the more money financial institutions make. That's why credit card companies spend billions on advertising every year. They want people to keep swiping, keep borrowing, keep paying interest. And psychologically, credit cards are powerful. Studies show people spend more money when using cards instead of cash because swiping doesn't feel painful. You don't physically see the money leaving your hands. It feels invisible, temporary, almost unreal, until the bill arrives. And suddenly, reality hits. Now, imagine someone already struggling financially. That emotional gap between buying and paying becomes dangerous because humans naturally focus on today's problems more than future consequences. That's why so many Americans fall into the cycle. Not because they're stupid, not because they're lazy, because they're human. And the system understands human psychology extremely well. That's what makes it so effective. Now, here's where things get even darker. When people fall behind on payments, interest rates increase, late fees appear, credit scores drop. And once credit scores fall, everything becomes more expensive. Car loans, apartments, insurance rates, even some jobs. One financial mistake can create years of consequences. That's why debt feels impossible to escape for many people. The system punishes weakness, especially when someone is already struggling. And yet, despite all this, millions continue using credit cards every day. Why? Because many feel like they have no choice. In a country where emergencies can cost thousands of dollars, credit cards often become the only safety net people have. And banks know this. That's why the industry keeps growing, because financial pressure keeps growing. Now, think about the average American family. Parents trying to provide for their kids, trying to keep food on the table, trying to survive inflation, trying to look okay even when everything feels unstable. That pressure is enormous. And in many households, debt becomes a silent secret. Nobody talks about it openly. People smile in public while privately panicking about bills. That's the emotional reality of modern debt. And social media makes it worse. Online, everyone looks rich. Luxury vacations, expensive cars, perfect lifestyles. People compare themselves constantly, and many start spending money they don't have to imitate lives that may not even be real. Credit cards make this easy, too easy. One swipe can temporarily create the illusion of success. But eventually, the bill always comes. And when it does, reality can be devastating. Now, here's something most people never think about. Banks don't necessarily want everyone to fail, but they also don't want everyone debt-free. Because someone who constantly carries debt is incredibly profitable. That's the perfect customer. Not completely broke, not completely free, just trapped in the middle, paying interest every month, month after month, year after year. And for millions of Americans, that cycle never truly ends. Some people spend decades paying debt. Decades. Imagine working most of your life while a portion of your income constantly disappears into interest payments. That's not freedom, that's financial captivity. And the emotional toll is massive, because money stress changes how people see the future. It creates anxiety, fear, hopelessness. People stop dreaming, they stop planning, they focus only on surviving the next month. That's why this issue matters so much. This isn't just about money, it's about human lives, human stress, human struggle, and the future of the American middle class. Because when debt becomes normal, financial freedom becomes rare. Now, does this mean credit cards are evil? Not necessarily. Used carefully, they can be useful tools. Some people use them responsibly, some build strong credit, some avoid interest completely. But the danger begins when people rely on debt to survive. That's when the system starts controlling them. And sadly, that's becoming more common across America, especially among younger generations. Many Gen Z and millennials entered adulthood during rising costs, economic uncertainty, and financial pressure. They watched housing become unaffordable, healthcare become expensive, and savings become harder than ever. So naturally, debt increased, because people still needed to live, still needed to eat, still needed hope. And maybe that's the most painful part of all. Most people trapped in debt aren't trying to become rich. They're just trying to stay afloat, trying to survive, trying to protect their families. And yet, the system continues profiting from their struggle. So the next time you see a credit card advertisement promising freedom, ask yourself one question. If credit cards truly made people financially free, why are so many Americans drowning in debt? Because sometimes, the most dangerous traps don't look dangerous at all. Sometimes, they fit perfectly inside your wallet. And the frightening truth is, most people don't realize they're trapped until the pressure becomes unbearable. At first, debt feels small, manageable, temporary,
A few $100s here, a missed payment there, maybe an emergency expense, maybe Christmas gifts for the kids, maybe a medical bill insurance didn't fully cover. Life happens. And every time life becomes difficult, the credit card quietly steps in like a lifeline. But over time, that lifeline slowly becomes a chain. And one of the biggest reasons this keeps happening is because modern America became incredibly expensive to survive in. For decades, people believed hard work guaranteed stability. Work a full-time job, buy a house, raise a family, save for retirement. That was the American dream. But for millions today, that dream feels further away than ever before, especially for younger generations. Many Americans are working longer hours than their parents ever did, yet somehow owning less. Rent keeps rising. Home prices explode higher every year. Groceries cost more. Insurance costs more. Electricity costs more. Even basic survival feels expensive now. And when people can't keep up, debt fills the gap.